If you're older and you have money, you are the prime target for people that want to take it and for themselves. What can you do to avoid being a victim and now become an advocate for yourself? We're going to talk about that more in this episode of Retirees.
Welcome to Retirees Radio, your one-stop shop for retirement planning. Tune in and get ready to take control of your retirement future.
Well, hello and welcome into Retirees Radio. I'm Ben George with Victor Medina. He is a certified financial planner, certified elder law attorney, and a retirement income certified professional. I think all those titles tie into what we're talking about today, Victor, because I think it's called elder fraud, right? We're seeing more and more retirees being targeted by scams.
They are. It is growing. I can't tell you there isn't a week that goes by that I don't have somebody talking to me about a personal experience that they had becoming a victim of a scam that's looking to take their money. It is growing like wildfire.
We're going to talk through that today. Again, go to retirees.com. You can find out more about the Retirees mission, how it can help you lead a more fulfilling life. The best years are yet to come. And by putting these steps in place and by taking these actions, you can ensure yourself to have that more fulfilling retirement. That's our goal. And we talk about things beyond finance. And today we are going to kind of circle back to finance, but it's about protecting yourself because it's so difficult. And I think what's so scary about this, Victor, is not only are people being targeted, but it is substantial.
Yeah. Yeah, when we see this money move, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. It'd be one thing if you were getting scammed out of $5, $20. Lesson learned, probably going to not impact your life. But when we're talking about five figures getting moved around and sometimes more than that, it is crazy. And I'll tell you that the scams run the gamut of sophistication. There are situations that are people where it's just being kind of stuff that's on the internet, kind of the stuff that's on the nightly news that you've heard about, this kind of scam, that scam, where people are transferring funds, maybe getting gift card. I went all the way in the other direction recently, which was came across an article about a scandal by somebody in the pickleball retirement world. So check this one out. He was a retiree himself, and what he was doing is he was taking promissory notes to market something that was going on. It was pickleball related. It was like Pickleball Unleashed, but he focused specifically on the retired community that had gotten involved in pickleball, all the craze, sort of like tennis without having to have any working joints on you kind of thing. And they went in and they invested in this and they replicated what became a Ponzi scheme where he just kept taking these promissory notes to go into it, people's money, never paying anything back. He paid some of the people that were on the bottom, but he took out almost $45 million over the course of a year and a half, and it only repaid or paid back of that maybe 1.6 of it. So this can run the gamut of sophistication. People really have to stay on their toes if they want to avoid falling victim to a situation like this.
Yeah, we're going to drop a link in the show notes. You can check it out if you're watching on YouTube. It's in the description. Look at it. It's from ABC News. But I mean, it was eye-opening seeing the numbers because you think, okay, I'm sure there's been a few $1 million scammed, whatever, 3.4 billion. And that was lost by Americans over the age of 60 in just a year. I mean, that's a very
that was just 2023.
Category. Yeah,
exactly. We're not talking about over a 10-year period, and we're not talking about the entire, population age. We're talking about just the folks that are in that older stage of it, and just within that last year, according to the FBI, 3.4 billion with a B dollars taken. Amazing.
It's remarkable. Why do you think it is then that this older demographic is the one that's being targeted?
Well, for good or bad, they're the ones with money. Not a lot of 20-year-olds are getting scammed out of $40,000 a time because I don't know a lot of 20-year-olds that have $40,000. So on the one hand, they are the people that have acquired money, they've got savings. I think they're also the people that tend to be a little less sophisticated in around the internet. And I know that we use the internet kind of like this big blanket of everything that is potentially on your phone, but it really is differing kinds of situations. You can have situations where people are using old computers and they're getting scammed for the one where they do the tech support thing. That one kind of exists and it's been around for a while. I've had people get scammed where they're receiving text messages from a known name and number that is asking for an update to links that are coming in there. In fact, we didn't fall victim, but we've been targets of this as a company where I have received text messages from what looks like one of my team members' phone numbers asking me to reroute their paycheck because they got a new bank account. And, thankfully, we work in close proximity with everyone in there. I can walk into their office and say, did you text this? Of course, I know that they didn't. I'm familiar with it at this point in time. But that is also what we would put in the category of being an internet-related scheme where people can fall victim to it. Think about the level of sophistication that brings. People are looking, not to pay attention to the email that says, I'm a Nigerian prince that has inherited money and want to give you some, just give me some money so I can send you the money. People have raised their education level around that. But you would have to know that it is possible to spoof a name and number. So it looks like it's coming from the number that you know. It has the name attached that you know. And by the way, knows that, for example, that you have some banking relationship or you don't with them. The point is that you've got to know that all of that scam exists to then put yourself in a position to not fall victim of it. If you're not aware that people can replicate phone numbers and names and appear just like they are the person that you know, you wouldn't know that is even possible. So how could you, stay away from it? So I think that kind of lack of sophistication and might I suggest something, but this is not targeted at the elderly population. I think this is all human population. But nobody likes to look dumb. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to admit that they don't know something. So when you're going in there and all of your kids or your grandkids have got the tablets and they're on the social media profiles and you want to be with them, I think it's difficult to admit, hey, I don't know how to operate this. So you don't often ask for help until it starts to smell bad or you're further down the road and maybe the money's gone. So I think it really is a mix of all those things. Target rich population because they got the money. Susceptible to the scam because they may not have that level of sophistication, and generally human, which is to say that, people are not suspicious by nature. They want to be trusting by nature, and they don't want to admit that they might not know something that they need help with.
Well, the sad reality is that we all fall in that category, right? So the good news is we're going to talk about some ways to kind of be on the lookout for these things, how they've evolved from the Nigerian princes of the early days of the internet to what they are today, and some ways to combat it. So let's start with just some things to look out for. And you've talked about a little bit about the spoof numbers, but there's some really intricate schemes.
So I think that one of the things that people trade on in this situation is the level of trust that you should have in the person sending the communication. So I am usually suspicious when I get a communication, let's say from a governmental agency. When you get a communication from the Social Security Department, from the IRS, from Medicaid, from the State Department, when you get a communication from that, it's supposed to trade on your trust level of an entity like that. That's why you would believe it, because those entities are supposed to be, people don't love the IRS, but they think that their communication should be trustworthy. I think the moment that you receive a communication from somewhere like that, or from someone that you know, that is communicating with you through a path that they don't normally. You're not talking to a live voice. You're not across from them in person. And they're reaching out in that method. That's the first layer of, where you raise the suspicion level. You get to DEFCON 2 or 3 from that, where you say, I should be a little suspicious when it's coming from these entities. I would say that any of those entities that are out there, the IRS, the Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the FBI, none of them use text messages. None of them use email. If they really want your money, Ben, they're going to send a certified letter, right, that is going to come to it, and they're going to make sure they've documented. These are still entities that love paper. So I would certainly look at, say, it's probably not going to come from that. But if we're going to get something from a family member, we'd also want to be able to verify that. But look for a trusted source. Then the other ones is to look for a request of money in any fashion. Those things tend to either trade on your desire to help someone or to trade on your greed. It says, we have an opportunity for you and you can get something free from that. But then there's always that trick that says, we just need something from you. And anytime that you're going to need to be asked to move money or purchased a form of money that is no longer traceable, that's the gift card scam, where they go in and say, I just need you to send me $5,000 in $1,000 Visa gift cards and put them in the mail or drop them off someplace. I think that's the other thing to start to look for is the request for funds. There's no fraud that happens without you giving over money. So we want to be really suspicious when we're being asked to take or move money out. And then the last one is anything that might have a time restriction on it. Now that can come in different forms. It can be a limited time offer where in order for you to take advantage of it, you have to act within a certain window. But the other one that comes often is someone who's stuck in an emergency and needs your money quickly, like a family member, a grandchild, a niece or a nephew that's calling over and that says, I'm stuck someplace and I just need this money to get out because everything is tied up. That time restriction is meant for you to not think too deeply, examine it too deeply, and therefore not get caught up in really being able to see this as a scam and just keep that forward. They're always looking to keep your momentum moving forward into the level of trust and to moving that money out. So I would look for those three things: a trusted source from the communication, a request for money, and maybe some time restriction on when you need to act in order for this to happen.
Everything gets more elaborate too. I think I've seen with the grandkids, I mean, you can manipulate somebody's voice on the other end, right? So you can make it sound like your grandchild, especially with the advent of AI. And have you seen these, Victor, too, where they call us a recording, they get you to say yes to an answer to a question, and they can replicate that voice to apply it to another question to maybe to move money or whatever it is. So it's incredible what's out there, which is why like I've even shut down. If I don't recognize a number, I don't even pay any attention to it. And I get tons of voicemails and texts all the time that fall in this category.
That's my favorite hack or setting on the iPhone. It's my favorite one to turn on. You can actually go in there and basically send every unknown number to voicemail. Now you can get caught up with it because I've had situations where I did a sleep study recently and they needed to contact me. It was a number I didn't know, and they ended up giving me like a CPAP machine. Well, that was another number I didn't know. So I needed to turn it off for a little while and then turn it back on. But it's my favorite setting to have on normally because it just means the phone never even rings. I don't even have to worry about answering it. I don't have to worry about that. I'm the one that's most susceptible, let's say, to a text message because there's like an email. There is nobody has to pay. Here's an idea, Ben. I think we should start charging for people sending messages. Like emails should cost $5, text messages should cost $5. Then you would start to somebody that's not a known or trusted source. Then you'd be a lot more judicious. It probably would cut down on a lot of the junk that we get in. But yeah, we can get people to come in and send in a voice. We can have people that come in with a phone number that comes in. And like you, I just don't even answer it if I don't know it. Let them leave a message. If it's important enough, let me call back and I'll be able to figure that out. And I always try to find the real number, not the one that they're giving me, especially if they're calling from a financial institution.
Yeah, you want to go back to the early days where you had to pay per text and pay per minute. You had to have a minute plan on your cell phone, right?
Yeah.
At Retirees, we believe that retirement is much more than taking care of your finances. The key to true retirement success is addressing things like health and fitness, relationships, community involvement, personal development, and more. Retirees wants to provide you with real steps to reach financial success, so join our mailing list to be the first to receive the tools, insights, and planning guides you need to enjoy a fulfilling retirement.
Well, let's move into ways to combat this because you kind of talked about one there, but I want to make sure people do take the necessary steps to help protect themselves, because especially when you get to this age and you're prepared for retirement, there's a lot ahead of you that you're excited about, and it can all be thrown away in an instant, as we've seen with these high dollar scams. So what are some things people can do to make sure this doesn't happen to them?
Yeah, so if you were listening, I'm hoping that you're in one of two different situations. You're either somebody that might be a potential target of this, one of the older folks that's listening, or you might know an older folks. You might be in the category of being a trusted person in here. But one thing that I really push for is having a trusted individual that you run all of this by, that you don't take any action without this being something that you run by this person. So I'm certainly that person for my parents, and I got 4 of them. They divorced and remarried. So I got a blessing of having 4 parents in my life, and then my wife's, my in-laws as well, my wife's parents. So for those individuals, they don't really take any action until they talk to me first. And it's not because they're morons. In fact, all of them happen to be hyper educated. But yet, there needs to be a second opinion. We need a speed bump. So we need to make sure that we're not going to go ahead and make any decisions that we can't come back from. Because one of the things we didn't talk about yet, Ben, is that most of the time, once this money is gone, it's gone forever. One of the things that we can't discuss are ways to get that money back. There are very few. The fraud investigation departments, they can help you if there's been a credit charge that is happening there. But you clean out your bank account and you turn it into a cashier's check and you send it off to somebody, the bank is not reconstituting that money in your account. So it's very difficult to come back from this, which is why we really need these strategies that will help us prevent it in the first place. So first step is we want a gatekeeper installed anytime we're going to move money to an unknown source. It needs to be hardwired in. If they're asking me to send it to a place that I don't normally send it to, so we're talking about the fact that, your account's been shut down and we need to move the money out before it's been frozen, that never happens. That's a trusted individual. If we're talking about the fact that you're paying your bill, I don't want to go to the trusted individual every time you're going to be paying your credit card bill or property taxes. But if we have some place that we don't normally send money to, we want the gatekeeper in there. And that trusted person is either you, if you're listening to your parent, or somebody that's older. Or if you're somebody older, I want you to identify somebody that you know and is close into that will help you be able to kind of run that by. And by the way, not that this happens a lot, but we occasionally will be that person for other of our clients that don't have a child, let's say, in their life, and they just need to run something by. If something comes up pretty quickly, they want to run it by before the thing has happened. So really important to stay in front of it. The other one in there is try to reduce the availability of your number and your information in places. So this actually comes down to two different strategies that are in place. On the email side, I use one email for communications that are around important things like family and money. It's the one account that's in there. I use a completely different account when I need to register for websites, for listservs, for magazines, for coupons, for the things that are the throwaways that get bought and sold. It's a completely different email. And so what I'm trying to do is separate out what information is publicly available, because I trust, for example, that the bank is not selling my information. It's one of the things that they're restricted from doing is selling my information. So I want to make sure that those individuals aren't reselling that, and I want to keep that, separated out. The other thing's on the phone number area, and this was launched way years ago, about 20 years ago, and it's still worthwhile, but you do have to keep it up, is get your phone number on that do not call registry list. You people did that when they still had landlines. We started hard copy lines. That was the first time that came out. You can still do that with your cell phones, and it kind of took some time because people weren't, for a long period of time, receiving spam calls on their cell phone. Now, as we were talking about before, happens all the time. So we want to make sure that number's on there as well. And the last one is you can go ahead and start to put freezes on different things like your credit accounts. And by the way, that freeze is free to do, free to undo. And what it does, it prevents somebody from acquiring your information and then committing fraud on an identity theft basis about opening accounts in your name. So each of the three major credit bureaus, Experian, I think Transamerica, and I forgot what the other one's in there, but the three that are in that are all have their method for freezing your credit with them. Because, by the way, each of them is used by different credit granting agencies for different kinds of accounts. So you would want to freeze them across all of them. And then you can always give them a call to unfreeze it if you are going to open up a credit or do a credit inquiry for something with a credit card, and then you can shut them back down again. So I think if you put a gatekeeper in place, trusted individual, if you put some restrictions on how much information is publicly available, and then you also take that last step of making sure that people can't just take your identity and use something with it. Those are all really three good steps that we can begin to reduce the incidence of this elder fraud, specifically things that can start to take your money.
Yeah, that's great. Great information. Again, that do not call registry is donotcall.gov if you want to check that out as well. Drop your number there. But let's just close it out with this, Victor. I know it can be fearful, the unknown, right? It scares us all, the fear that this might happen to them and ruin everything you've worked for and ruin your retirement. We can still empower people, right? To know that knowledge is power, that you can take control. You can have a say in your future.
Yeah. I think the knowledge and power comes in a couple of different perspectives. One of them is you can put yourself in a position where you know more, and that will help you avoid something. And you can start to be educated on the matter. I don't think that people should be walking around in fear. Technology is going to continue to make advances, and people can take advantage of those advancements that happen in there. You don't necessarily want to be left behind. So it's not, we don't want to get to people in a fear of engagement. I think the more that people stay up to speed with that, the less susceptible they will be. It's kind of when you get off of the train of learning and getting more is when you get to the point where you can be taken advantage of relative to the people that have gotten that experience or continue to learn in that area. But the other thing too is, look for a community for help. You don't have to go at it alone. You shouldn't go at it alone. That's really where you're at risk too, is to kind of have everything, just kind of be talking to a mirror or having just a circle of one. I think the broader that you expand that circle, I think the safer you can be. And it is an opportunity, first of all, to have really good relationships with people that might know some of this technology better than you. It's a great way to connect. I'm still somebody that reaches out, as technologically advanced as I am, to reach out to my kids so they can let me know what's coming down the road. By the time it's come to me, it's not cool anymore, man. It's not hip anymore, right? Yeah. They're the ones that know about the other ones. One of the great things that we have in our office is I've got a marketing coordinator that we hired kind of out of college, has been with us for 5 years now, but she's still the youngest person in the office, or nearly the youngest person in the office. She's now young enough, she could be kind of the age of my daughter. She's now young enough to let me know what is cool and what's happening there. So I've got like a stage type of thing, but you can have a relationship with the younger folks that can keep you on the edge of knowing what's coming out and keep you out of harm's way along that. But I think the last thing I would leave people with is, you shouldn't be too harsh on yourself if you happen to become a victim along the way. Have some grace with yourself. We want to help you avoid that. But I had, interestingly enough, a client that had family members, didn't talk to the family members, talked to me after it happened. We spent most of that conversation letting her know that it was going to be okay. And so if you're in a situation where you need to figure out whether or not you will be okay, one of the most important things you can do is align yourself with somebody that's got your back, that has put a plan in place, and can let you know what the impact of anything has been or how you can get yourself in a better position. We love serving as a resource like that for our clients, whether it's giving them resources about how to prevent elder fraud or putting them in a position where they've got things in different buckets, they've protected themselves, but really getting into that place where the plan is giving you a lot of confidence about where you're going to be in the future. Once you start to do that, now you can kind of exhale and you can be in a position where you're engaging with life with smile and happily and not fearfully, which I think really is where we want to get everybody here today.
Yeah, that's where we want to be, and that's what Retirees can help you with. So again, the number 856-506-8300. Also go to retirees.com if you want to get support there. Also get access to their tools as they release those here pretty soon, and you can always stay in touch with everything Retirees does. Again, it's all about helping you lead a good life in retirement, a great life actually in retirement. Oftentimes goes beyond the finances, but we have to protect that first. So hopefully today we'll give you some things to think about, pay attention to, and help protect yourself moving forward. But again, if you have questions, Victor is happy to help you out. Victor, enjoyed it. This is not a conversation we want to deal with, but is the reality that we live in right now. And I'm glad we went through it today.
Hey, I enjoyed it too. And by the way, I am a Nigerian prince and I have inheritance for you.
Send me that number over and I'll get the money to you right away. Victor, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
See you soon, Ben.
Palante Wealth Advisors are an independent financial services firm that utilizes a variety of investment and insurance products. Medina Law Group is an independent estate planning and elder law firm. Investment advisory services offered through Palante Wealth Advisors, LLC in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, registered investment advisor. Registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet a particular need of an individual situation. Medina Law Group and Palante Wealth Advisors are not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Medina Law Group and Palante Wealth Advisors.